to redeem ourselves. Only one chance to leave a legacy. Everything else just lies in deceit. Yes, it's my job to deliver death swiftly and without raising attention. But to me, death is just an accessory, no conclusion. Life is the only conclusion we'll ever have. It is the only opportunity to shape the story of our lives. I am Zunder, and I was born into an old aristocratic family under the leadership of a cruel, authoritarian father. My original name was Earl Sigmund of Zunderhill, but that doesn't matter anymore. Being born into a noble family is like stepping right into a pile of shit. You can try and scratch Earl for a wound, but the stench never leaves you. Anyway, my old name doesn't matter. Just call me Zunder. I will slit your throat faster than you can pronounce my old name. Got it? Good. Where was I? Oh yes. The good stuff. Here we go. I suffered endlessly under the repressive atmosphere of aristocratic life. My daily life was dictated by noble etiquette, family banquets, and vigorous academic and military training from an early age. At a very young age, I swore to myself that I would rid myself of the yoke of aristocratic life in Nogard, renouncing my claim to lordship. I think my father almost sensed that, which is why he treated me with hostility and disrespect. I have no fond memories of this cruel, narrow-minded man and his love for physical punishments. When I turned 16, he decided to send me to the military to fight an invasion of Yetis under the leadership of the ferocious Chief Garak Ice Eater. I was outraged, realizing that my father was definitely planning to get me killed in the battle, so that my younger, more obedient brother Zaglav could inherit his noble title instead. I knew that my father started seeing me as a threat to the family dynasty. I was enraged and disgusted by it all and arranged my escape from the family estate to join a mysterious guild of assassins who called themselves the Dying Breath. From them, I learned the skill of moving and soon became, in every sense of the word, a shadow of my former self, a shadow trained to maim and murder. I worked tirelessly, became wealthy, and rose to the top of this organization, and yet, I was not satisfied and felt an emptiness growing inside of me. I felt as if I had spent my whole life fighting against my own privilege upbringing, only to end up in a privileged situation once again as the head of the Nogard's most few organizations. Enough was enough. I handed over my position to my best friend, Nethris, and traveled to Hoppercote Castle to seek an audience with the Azure Dragon who was always looking for talented, honorable people who protect Nogard from evil. Sauron responded to my request by saying that he could not provide any work for us at the moment, but that he would contact me again when the time was ripe. Accepting that there was nothing else for me to do, I retired to a farm on the edge of Kriktor, raising sheep, eating homegrown food, and enjoying the beauty of nature. My best friend was my black dog Calistro. Otherwise, I preferred my own company. One evening, the Azure Dragon showed up on my farm, and he seemed distressed. Sauron quickly revealed to me that something terrible had happened, and that Nogard was in great danger unless I would help the Azure Dragon to end the rule of the traitorous Lord Vyfren and the Mad Dragon Myras. Remembering my promise to Sauron, I did not hesitate. I entrusted my farm and dog to a trustworthy neighbor and prepared for a long journey deep into the forest of Kriktor.
I am Taurus, and I grew up in an environment where weapons always speak louder than words. At the tender age of 4, I got my first lesson in swordsmanship and hand-to-hand combat. Only a few years later, I was handling heavier weapons like axes, maces, and clubs. Being born into a long-established family of wandering mercenaries, I was promised a life of fame and riches. But all I ultimately got was isolation and loss. When I turned 15, my parents were brutally slaughtered by a sadistic gang of jinns from the Yellowstone caves, evil spirits who feast on the hearts of their fallen enemies. Another 20 years later, my younger brother Yoram was murdered in his sleep by mercenaries from a rival gang. These bastards wanted to destroy me and my entire bloodline to replace my clan as the strongest mercenary gang in Nogard. What followed afterwards was a long period of depression and addiction. I spent years drowning my grief in a toxic whirlwind of fighting and drinking. At one point, I started walking into dangerous battles armed with nothing but my bare hands. All I wanted is to die in battle, but it never happened. Somehow, I always prevailed. That's when my clan abandoned me. They thought me mad and realized that their once proud warlord had succumbed to his grief. Thus, I gave up fighting altogether, dedicating myself fully to drinking and wasting my days. Exhausted and scarred from all the pain, I eventually became a hermit in the Yellowstone Mountains, near the caves where my parents had been murdered decades earlier. But then, something unexpected happened. The Azure Dragon Sarin visited me in my mud house and reminded me of my lost honor. I heard the news about how Mira's and Lord Wyfrin had betrayed the Azure Dragon and exposed Nogard to grave danger. At first, I wasn't willing to let go of my self-loathing and contempt for life. But then, the Azure Dragon did something unexpected. He started crying and his tears shined like sapphires and stardust combined. I felt emotion start in my heart again. I felt in my soul that Nogard was at risk, and that I could find meaning and purpose as a defender of this world. Hence, my journey began.
Some people didn't get far in life because they desperately want something, or rather because they are running away from something or someone. I am one of those people. My name is Alva. I used to have a last name, but in the greater scheme of things, last names do not matter. Alva would do just fine. No extra title needed. I grew up in the slums of Madrigadina, a legendary city in the shore of Dahlia's Eye, the great sea of Nogard named after the sparkling eyes of the water goddess Dahlia. My parents were both poor, and my father left the family when I was only 3 years old. My mother did her best to raise her daughter the best she could, but life in the slums of Madrigadina was particularly hard for single mothers. Hunger and sadness were my constant companions. The situation took a turn for the worse when my mother went missing in a hurricane one night, while after she was collecting clams and sea shells to sell in the market. Ever since that night, I had to fend for myself, and I learned very early that the world can be a cruel place for those who do not know how to help themselves. Living on the streets, I joined a gang of pickpockets to survive. During that time, I discovered my paranormal abilities. I could steal purses full of gold using my telekinetic powers and realized that I could manipulate the elements, such as fire and water, through sheer willpower. Eventually, Nogard's Council of Spellcasters heard about a mysterious young girl from Madrigalina and dispatched recruiters to find her and bring her to the Spellcasters College. There, she learned all there is to know about the marvelous yet dangerous art of magic. The girl I'm talking about was obviously me. I never felt like she truly belonged there. My Irish upbringing made me feel like an outcast among the very academic spellcasters. I particularly despised Lord Wyfrin, who, in my humble opinion, represented everything I lauded about humanity. A hunger for power and control, ruthless careerism, and narcissistic tendencies. Very early during my training, I vowed to become a different kind of spellcasters. Curious, open-minded, and compassionate. But I was always plagued by trauma, depression, and feeling of inadequacy. On the night before Lord Wyfrin and Miraz formed their alliance and Saren fled from Opera Castle, I was haunted by nightmares about my mother. My lost mother implored me to leave Opera at once, telling me that something terrible was going to happen. Told me to travel to Amanita Meadows, an ancient settlement ending deep in the dangerous forest of Ketur. Thus, I began my journey toward Amanita Meadows, still unaware of the great role I was going to play in the history of Nogard. Who are you? Name yourself.
Come, lady. Come. There's no need to get all worked up. In fact, I think it will be better. That forest is teeming with all sorts of strange wildlife, mostly the unnatural kind.
Why so anxious? You cutthroat? What? You think I can't see what kind of man you are? I know your type. You are some kind of hired blade, sent out by that filthy old traitor Wyfrin and his mentally deranged pet dragon. Draw your weapons, come here, and let's make it quick. I got somewhere to go.
So do I, you pompous dipshit! You think you can address me like that, you axe-swinging turd? If you're so eager to meet your maker, I'll be happy to oblige!
Gentlemen, please let us not make things harder than they already are. I am Alva, a member of the Council of Spellcaster, and I am on my way to Amanita Meadows. Instead of showing off your sharp tongue and bravado, you could do me a great favor and simply tell me your names and the purpose of your journeys. After everything that happened in the last 2 weeks, I have no reason to assume you are here for entertainment. And if you were brigands, you would not be so incredibly talkative.
Me? Talkative? I simply requested that you keep quiet, and this meathead dared to insult me. But honestly, I got better things to do and places to be. I'll be off now.
Something tells me we are all headed the same way. So why be rash and thoughtless? Come on, gents. You must have noticed that the entire forest is swarming with all manners of hostile beasts and other abomination. Answer honestly. Are you on your way to Amanita Meadows? And have you been sent by the Azure Dragon?
How did you?
Yes. How? For all you know, we could be servants of Wyfern and slaughtered you on the spot! Why would I trust you? Hell, you could kill me right here with one of your deadly little magic tricks!
She knows. And to be fair, I know too. We were destined to meet here. The Azure Dragon has planned and foreseen this. When he recruited me for this mission, he told me I'd meet companions along the way. And now I'm here. And I simply know he meant you. Can't explain it though. I just know it.
Me too. There's something strange at play here.
Strange? Maybe. But let's face on the problems at hand. Looks like we all need to get to Amanita Meadows, but the forest path ahead of us might be even more dangerous than the roads we traveled on so far. I climbed up a gigantic tree earlier, on to get a better view. It's not far anymore, but hell, the woods that separate us from the Berserker settlement look nasty.
I vote we split up and reunite once we made it to Amanita Meadows. We can't afford to draw attention, now that we are so close. We should try to stay off the enemy's radar, until we made it to settlement and learn more about the mission.
Yes, there's a dragon, Sarim said something about the Temple of Winter Beer. It seems like the High Priestess of the temple will be able to tell us more.
Let's stop talking and get moving then. There's no time to waste, and my throat's itching for one of those legendary mushroom beers the Berserkers drink to keep their calm. Damn, a crisp beer would really make my day, especially if it's packed with psychoactive shrooms.
Shut up, assassin! Stop daydreaming! Draw your weapons and let's get there as fast as possible. You can get high when you're there, but I suggest you keep your wits about you while we're out here.
What the hell? Do I look like a clueless amateur?
Gents, please.
Yeah.